afternoon, everybody, or good early evening, and welcome here to Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the ninth race of the season for UpperEdge Racing's Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Here today at the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Third time we have been to this racetrack and closing in on the end of the season as well. A lot of moves today will more than likely play a huge factor into who's going to be in the conversation for the championship in the upcoming season finale, as tonight we prepare for the Blame Shelley Insurance 146.3, and that point 3 might be very important at the end of this one as well, based on the positioning of the start-finish line here at Talladega. I'm Seth Cole, here tonight being joined by a bit of an unusual setup. He's behind the wheel and also with the headset, Matthew Rodriguez. Matt, first off, welcome to the booth here. Going to be interesting to have this kind of perspective, but interesting. We ended up having the drivers' meeting, and there is a new element that you guys are going to have to deal with here today at Talladega that you haven't dealt with the last couple of races.
Absolutely. It seems like the Talladega weather is on a little bit of a hot streak. We are having about 131 degrees in practice for the track temp, and that has made it extremely slick. And unfortunately, it looks like a rainstorm has came through right before we started. So unfortunately, all of our track grip has just wandered on away. So we are on a completely clean track.
Be 11 drivers. They're going to take the green flag here today. Dylan Body gets the first pole of his Body Superspeedway Series career. Obviously, first of the season as well. And he'll have the Durans behind him. David to his outside. Justin just behind him. Mike Tellier there in fourth, and our own Matt Rod going to be rolling off from the fifth position. I was also hearing in practice as well that I guess the hotter conditions today have affected the space of where you can pick up draft as far as distance between cars.
Yes, realistically, I haven't played around with that too much, but I have been hearing some complaints throughout the garage area about various drivers having issues being farther back, getting that draft that we're used to. And us pushing in the corners, they're having a lot more issues hooking up with bumpers, and they're a lot more sensitive. I'm going to see a lot of overheating issues today.
Showed you the drivers that took time. Back to seventh place, Robert Kenny. Ryan Potter rolls off from eighth. Points leader Bronson Stafford in ninth. Ty Smith completes the top 10. And it's actually 11 drivers that will take the green flag. Connor Holden will start shotgun on the field. Realistically, coming into this race right now, it's looking like it could be a three-horse race for the championship. Stafford 30 points over Robert Kenny and 99 points over Mike Tellier. David and Justin Duran might be some long shots here, but we were kind of talking about point scenarios. They need a win here today to set themselves up to be in the championship hunt in the next couple of weeks.
If I could be a little bit selfish, I think this whole entire inside line, at least this top three, is really overdue for a win. Dylan Body being so close last week and having the marketable improvement throughout the whole season. And Justin Durand, I mean, he has been on the cusp of getting a really good finish, but unfortunately, almost thanks to yours truly, it seems like we get tangled together almost every week where it prevents him from getting that finish.
Green flag in the air as David Duran gets a nice jump on the top side. He's going to clear Dylan Body before they even get to turn number one. So a nice launch for the 24. He's going to have the inside advantage off of turn number two, which isn't normally the place you want to be based off what we've seen here in the past at Talladega. That middle line and that outside line, especially in the back straightaway, really get formed with the two-car tandems.
Yeah, I'm over here making sure Seth saw my message, but it is definitely not a lack of guys trying to make moves here early. That top lane seems to be rolling. Now, here's where a question comes in about team alliances, where certain alliances lie, and seeing where people are going to go here.
Saw early exit there to the back by, I believe that was Ryan Potter in the 99. Mike Tellier up the middle. Who's going to lead the first lap of this race? My goodness, I think we had about 3 or 4 lead changes right there in the span of that one lap.
And man, just look at that high line with Robert Kenny and Bronson Stafford. Looks like Ryan Potter may be on the fence about helping either Chapman or Bronson try and get to the front, but here's going to be the big issue. And I've seen a lot of guys unstable. You got to be wondering how that is really affecting these cars and how it's affecting the balance.
Robert Kenny, of course, winning last time out at iRacing Superspeedway, his third win on the season. So right now he has the advantage. Whoa, little contact there between Durant and Potter. But right now the advantage as far as wins goes to Kenny, 1 over Bronson Stafford. And Stranger things have happened here in this series. You have to wonder that if we got to the season finale and it ended in a tie between these two, obviously I would assume the tiebreaker would go to Kenny for one more win than Stafford.
Yeah, that's the thing where it goes, I believe it's, I'm trying to remember the rule book off the top of my head. I believe it goes by wins, then top fives, then top tens, and I believe poles is the tiebreaker.
Kenny and Stafford going to work together here out of turn 2. Kenny now drops down in front of the 24. 29 up on the top side there. Actually, correction, that's the 60. I've ended up seeing the wrong. I saw the 24, but he's third in line that inside line. That's Joey Chapman in the 60 that actually now is pushing Robert Kenny on that inside line. Top side is Justin Duran trying to help Bronson Stafford, and Robert Kenny coming into this race only 30 points back. There is a chance that Kenny could end up leaving today as the points leader. Mentioned 30 points difference, but with 11 drivers taking the green flag, there's only 10 drivers that are going to get points because only the top 10 get the points payout.
Absolutely, and that's the main thing is that lucky 11th spot that I'm in right now, that does really not pay out any points to that top 10. And you got to think that is in the mind of the top 3 contenders, both Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny, as Robert Kenny and David Duran drop all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, interesting there. Obviously, we're going to be beating this dead horse later on in the race about that double yellow line not being out of bounds, but you can also use it to safely drop to the back, which they both appear to be doing. Another thing I gotta wonder is, we've talked about it race after race. You can tandem here, but the pusher is going to have that water temp spike. You talked about the hot conditions these drivers are dealing with here today. That I would assume would make that temperature spike even quicker.
Absolutely, and especially being tucked up on someone's bumper, just that hot temp plus the track temp and everything else and a lack of airflow coming in. I see these cars overheating and maybe a lap, under a lap. I haven't really gotten a chance to test it yet.
Running on board with Dylan Body. He's in the tire tracks of Justin Duran. Ryan Potter, former winner this season, has picked up Bronson Stafford on the inside line. Mentioned the fact that we've been to Talladega twice so far this season in the past. The two former winners were Mike Tellier back in the early portion of March and Robert Kenny back at the end of March. So got to keep an eye on those two. Might look to double down here today at Dega. Still with Ryan Potter, they picked up Joey Chapman on the inside. Last week, I believe it was Dylan Body was the only member of the Monster Brigade. He's got more teammates with him this week. Of course, the 99 of Ryan Potter, the 16 of Ty Smith, and the 81 of Connor Holden. So they've got the numbers back here at least, yet every single one of that group are still searching for their first win of their career here.
Well, you got to think also Ryan Potter's a part of that group, and Ryan Potter, he was almost a championship favorite earlier in the season before at least some circumstances kind of took him out of it. A little bit of a conflict in that bottom line. Joey Chapman gets slid back in.
Ryan Potter cutting Joey Chapman a break there. Bronson Stafford, Joey Chapman utilizing the no out of bounds rule with that double yellow line to make the pass on Ryan Potter. And Potter didn't have to let Chapman back in. You go kind of down there at your own risk. There's no obligation that the car that is above that double yellow line has to let you back in line. So well, Chapman's going to get hooked off the bumper now of the 99, and no caution yet. Chapman going to get the thing refired, but we saw this happen last time out at iRacing Superspeedway. Trying to remember who the car was that got hooked down to the inside off of turn 2, and because it was below the racing surface, no caution came out to save them. Same case here for Joey Chapman in the 60, so he's going to be hoping for a caution flag.
And Ryan Potter kind of stuck on that apron line, almost 2-3 wide.
It's scary there with that 99, especially with the fact
I've
that
been down there before. It is not pleasant.
Well, not only that, but he was blinking in and out, so you don't know if that car's going to be merged back up above the double yellow line when it reappears. But Bronson Stafford pulling some bold moves here. Looks like you're going to pull one down into turn 1. Oh, backing out of it. Oh, you get chickened out.
Well, listen, it is not a comforting sight when you see your team cars above you. You're like, man, am I going to take out my entire team here?
How much grip is there down on the apron here? Because obviously a wide apron at Talladega, especially coming
So
off of 1 and 2 since it's considered an access road.
So Talladega is one of the nicer kind of aprons that you can work with because you can carry a lot more speed at Talladega apron than you can a place like iRacing, a place like Daytona. It's a lot more forgiving. It's a lot more progressive. So you have a little bit of playroom with it. Now, a place like Daytona, with it being so flat and it's being such a drop off, it is almost a nightmare and you end up almost plowing into the car in front of you. Same thing with iRacing Superspeedway. It's such a dramatic shift where it's kind of hard to use that apron in the corner if you accidentally overrun it, but Talladega is a lot more forgiving.
You mentioned Daytona, and of course, that was where we were originally going to be heading here this week, but we had that span of 4 Daytona races in 5 events, so people getting a little bit sick of that 2.5 milers. We're here at Talladega today, and, Daytona, one of those tracks where we don't normally see those moves on the apron being made on the back straightaway because drivers say it's just too congested when you get down into turn 3. Here, you've got that kind of flexibility, much like iRacing Superspeedway. So we're seeing that double yellow line out of bounds rule. That's being utilized here in the first 10 laps. I gotta think that we're definitely going to see moves being made down there when we get to 10 to go.
I'll openly say it seems like the runs here are a lot more strong than they've been the majority of the season. So obviously the hotter temperatures and the lower track grip making it a lot faster, a lot more drafty, but a lot more unstable.
Yeah, you talk about the unstable. I was just going to bring that up because it kind of looks like whoever we see get pushed to the lead, the person that's behind them's having a very difficult time of lining up the bumpers. We're not seeing necessarily the push tandem that we're used to seeing. I think that's just because of the instability that you're talking about.
Absolutely. It makes you think twice whenever you got someone on you saying, do I really want them to push them or push me right here? Because I've got confidence, but I mean, as soon as you get hooked left, there is almost little to no catching.
Monster Brigade on the inside line. Potter leading Smith, Holden, and Body. Top side, it's the Durans, but they're kind of by their lonesome. Matt just behind them, trying to sniff some draft, running in that 7th position. Ooh, look at this, a little side draft going on there through the tri-oval. That's a little bit dangerous because out of every place here at Talladega where the car is going to be the most unstable, it would have to be right there in the center of that tri-oval.
Absolutely, and it's kind of one of those decision points where you can pinch a guy all the way down to the bottom of the track, and it makes it a lot more unstable, a lot more questionable. I mean, you got a move like this where you have the run and you don't want to stay behind that guy in the second lane, so you think, all right, I've got enough speed to really make that high line work. But like you're seeing now, you end up stalling out without that help. So that's going to make it a lot more difficult for those last lap charges.
Little interesting here, the last 2 drivers currently in this lead pack, Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny, and then you've actually got Mike Tellier back there as well. The top 3 in the point standings, none of them really making a charge up here to the front and stay at the front, which surprises me because coming down this home stretch with those 3 in the conversation for the championship, I would think they would be looking at bonus points, and of course there's a bonus points payout to the driver who leads the most laps.
Absolutely, and that's the kind of the thing where, again, you want to get up there, you want to lead laps, but you're kind of putting yourself at a risk. Both, hey, you're now being pushed by everyone behind you, but it wants that position, so it's making your life a lot more difficult because now you're playing blocker. But not only that, but again, you're ruining your fuel strategy here. You're not getting drafted off of any cars. If you think you can barely make it or you're right on your number, it's going to make it a lot more difficult.
Joey Chapman right now still on the lead lap. He did not come to pit road after his spin. He is currently running about 30 some odd seconds behind race leader Ryan Potter, so he is about half a lap, maybe a little more than half a lap down, and of course as these lap times continue as well, this bigger pack is going to run faster lap times than he is as a single car. He might end up getting swallowed up somewhere in the next 10 to 15 laps, so he's still looking for a caution at this point in time. But, we're seeing this double wide, 3 wide, you're in the middle of right there trying to battle for the race lead. While you guys are racing hard, you are giving some space, you are racing clean, so the likelihood of that caution coming out, at least right now visibly, doesn't look like it's in the air for Chapman.
I will say that's a little bit more due to my rustiness is how much space we're giving each other. And again, it's kind of how much people think. Because you look at Bronson and Mike, they are hooked up together. They are moving.
They just got a front row seat of that one.
It's all about the confidence of whoever's leading that pack where, again, I didn't have very much confidence. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing here. Kenny's all willing to help me, but I mean, we need a plan. But you see, Bronson and Mike, they have been together for years. They know how this operates. So they are right in tune, and they want to help each other get up there. Now, here's the big question. They got lucky last time with Justin Durand, or at least we got lucky last time with Justin Durand getting a little bit off of David. But now they're a little bit more pushed together, and I think they're a little bit better on aero. So it's going to kind of play out, seeing if that high line is really usable.
And I think that pretty much drivers are going to have to go up there because the Monster Brigade has established the bottom. 4 cars all lined up, so it's going to be difficult to break them up. Much like that move we just saw Bronson Stafford and Mike Tellier try to pull off, that's something I think you're going to have to do because they're not going to give you the short way around the racetrack.
And 100%, we're going to make life difficult because, again, that's how you win these races. You make him go the long way around, and let's see if he has enough room to get back to that line.
Ryan Potter going to jump up high. That's going to drop him at least back to the 5th position, it looks like, turning the race lead over to Ty Smith in the 16. We were talking about the long shot drivers coming into this one. Michael Norman was 4th in points, but not in the event. 160 points out. David Durand, the former champion. Justin Durand right now 174 points out. I mean, these drivers still have a shot. But like we said, it has to happen today. And it can't really even be consistent top 5s, even top 3s, I don't really think, down this home stretch, just based on the fact that you don't know where Tellier's going to finish, where Stafford's going to finish, or where Robert Kenny's going to finish. You've got to get those max points. You've got to go out there and you've got to win here today if you're going to have a shot. They're kind of, right now, the long shot drivers, even with the number of races we've got left.
Yeah, that's the thing where, again, I really say that Ryan Potter has that rookie championship all kind of netted up unless some of the guys who are lower down in the standings really make a comeback, but that's going to be a huge question mark.
You see Matt up on the top side there, trying to make
don't worry, I
something
can
happen.
see.
Oh, I was saying for the people to notice, but I know you can definitely see. I also noticed you try and pull the side draft there a little bit too. I mean, does the heated temperatures here today, does that play into the side draft at all, or is it just basically what these Xfinity cars are known for?
I mean, really, I've been pulling that move before, and I don't really know how effective it is, but at least today it seems more effective where, again, you saw how far back I got to run, and you're able to ride that entire outside lane and make it work. That's the main thing.
Ooh, is he going to lead this lap, though? This is going to be close. Nope, doesn't look like it. David Durand.
He got Nationwide on his side. He's not going to let it.
Oh, man, he's got you to the max there. No, is that a Coke Zero or Pepsi Max? That's a Coke Zero car, isn't it? Wow.
I think that's a Coke Zero car.
I really messed up on that sponsorship placement, didn't I? Look at the top side.
Did you check my message?
I did check your message. Oh, man.
Michael Massey over here.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes you just make mistakes, and sometimes you just make mistakes. There's no middle ground.
Close enough.
Bronson Stafford and Mike Tellier trying that high, wide, and handsome line once again. It seems like they can get up to about 2nd or 3rd. They just can't keep the momentum going. Now they're going to have Robert Kenny up there with them also. So we'll see if 3 cars on the top can beat 3 cars on the bottom. But, yeah, the momentum's just not there, and they're taking the longer way around the racetrack.
See, here's a big problem about what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to get that side draft off the car. So, again, it requires you to get extremely close on Justin Durand here. And, again, I love Durand, but, I mean, we have to admit mistakes happen. And, again, it's just me hanging right on his quarter panel. That's not a good feeling for either of us. Because, again, he's looking at his mirror saying, what in the world he doing? I'm looking at like, oh, God, please hold that yellow line so we don't bump together. That is the main thread of that where, yes, it is effective, but it is a very dangerous strategy. And it really only works in short bursts, and if you're prepared to say, hey, if I get too close, I'm going in the fence.
I'm on board with you here as goes Dylan Body up on the top side. And the one thing I'm noticing here, maybe a little bit more wheel motion than we're used to seeing you guys have here at Talladega, but for the most part, at least inside the cockpit, it feels like the car is steady. What's the areas of the racetrack that you're experiencing right now where you're feeling the difference with the hotter temperatures as opposed to the last 2 times we've been here this season?
Realistically, the corners and also on entry and exit, it's making it feel a lot more unstable, and especially, and it sounds really strange, the straightaways, where it feels like I'm trying to keep the car in a straight line more. Now, I don't know if that's due to my own indecisiveness trying to follow the car in front of me, or if it's actually due to the track temperature. That's going to have to wait to be seen, but again, it feels like we're working out a lot more today trying to make this work.
You're talking about it feeling slicker, and we're getting close to maybe getting to around a green flag pit stop. So what are we thinking there with the hotter temperatures on that slight access area to pit lane? Is that going to be something you guys are going to have to take into consideration, that maybe the brakes aren't going to take nearly as well here today as they have in the past?
Well, I'll openly admit I have not practiced my pit entry, so, Godspeed to anyone around me. But here's the thing. We can adjust brake biases in cars. Now, again, we can try and make the brake bias the best we can to make it most even, so we're not going to lock up those tires. But at the end of the day, I think we're running about 50, 60 brake bias by default. We can really only move about down 3 or by 6, or sorry, by 3 or up 3. I don't really think it's going to make that big of a difference. It's really going to be about when you decide to turn off and where is your braking point.
You saw there on that camera shot that Joey Chapman now on the same straightaway as you guys. I believe you'll probably reel him in this next upcoming lap, which is not necessarily a terrible thing for Joey Chapman. Yes, he is going to go a lap down, but he'll be merged in with this pack now. And if we were to have a caution previously to you guys catching up to him, he would stay on the lead lap. But if a caution came, I think we have going to have one.
Oh, looks like there's a few cars behind.
Smith just got spun off. I think it might have been the nose of Robert Kenny. No yellow flag coming out. Same situation as we saw there with Joey Chapman. The spin taking place below the racing surface.
I believe Race Control still looking it over, seeing if they need to throw a caution.
Dylan Body right now. Like that correction, David Durand going to jump to the top side of Joey Chapman, so he'll put the 61 lap down. Justin going to follow in his tire tracks. Now Chapman going to get merged in with this lead group, and he should be, at this point in time, the only car 1 lap down, so should the yellow come out, he would get the free pass and get back on the lead lap. Ty Smith has continued on. So I am seeing that there was some damage to the back bumper of that machine. Looks like around
don't worry, I see it very well.
Left front. So see how that affects the car aerodynamically. I mean, so many different things that could be exacerbated here today with the hotter temperatures, and I have to wonder, damage that you receive, could that affect you aerodynamically? And more importantly, let's say, for instance, we get down to the end of a race and a driver has a lot of front-end damage and does not have a faster pair. We know that a lot of times, if you can't get clean air to the nose and to that engine with the front-end damage, that car is going to overheat. We're seeing already drivers not being able to stay locked up to the bumpers of drivers they're pushing for as long as we've seen them do in the past. So, even the damage factor could come into play in a driver not making it to the conclusion. Three cars on the top side now. Stafford, Kenny, and Tellier, your top 3 in the point standings working together. And that's one of the kind of blessings and curses as well of this series, is the enemy of my enemy is my friend in regards to who's battling for the championship. They're all realizing, hey, if we're going to get max points here and still keep it a 3-man fight, we got to work together to get ahead of these guys. And they will complete the pass into turn 3 for 2nd and 3rd now for Stafford, Kenny, and Tellier.
Absolutely. Now it's the big battle of, you got pit stops on your mind. When are you going to pit? That's the big question.
I mean, you're in the car. How far can you guys go? Do you have a number that you guys can basically say, this is exactly the point where we have to come to pit lane or we're going to run out of fuel?
Well, that's the thing. Do you run it all the way to completion, or do you find your number where you think you can make it to the end and then pit? Because right now we're almost at the almost halfway point. So you got to think in the back of your head, can we make it on this stop?
We've seen drivers kind of go outside the box in terms of strategy as well. I remember back to one of the Daytona races, it was Bronson Stafford and I believe Joey Chapman, Robert Kenny all went off pit sequence. Granted, they caught a caution at the right time to stay on the lead lap and gain track position, but we have seen drivers kind of be a little bit unorthodox with pit strategies. So this will certainly be interesting, as I would assume that we'd be with at least 10 laps from the fuel window closing, and these drivers absolutely having to come to pit lane. So yeah, to your point, let's see if maybe they go another 3.5 laps right to the halfway point and then elect to try to split this race right down the middle.
That's the key thing, and you see how that bottom line is just so strong here. But that high line, it can work if you got the right circumstances.
Another thing I was just considering with the hotter temperatures is getting into your pit stalls. We've seen in the past drivers, whoa, maybe a little uneven bump there from David Durand and Bronson Stafford, but we've seen drivers in the past slide and overshoot their pit boxes, costing them valuable time, and you cannot afford to even lose a thousandth of a second on pit lane, because that could translate to car lengths on the racetrack when everybody gets that back up to speed. So there's a lot for you guys to have to think about here today.
I will admit, lap car is my favorite friend right now. At least, man, I wish I could have made that lap car work in Daytona.
And finally, we had to wait 25 laps, but finally Matt's going to lead a lap here at Dega.
Boy, it's a miracle I haven't wrecked yet.
You can see the 10 car of Robert Kenny's got that right front damage after the contact between himself and Ty Smith that sent Smith spinning around after the start-finish line a little while ago. So obviously going to be dealing with a little bit of aerodynamic damage, but we've seen this in the past too. What looks like it could be detrimental to the speed of a race car, it doesn't affect them in any way, and then minor contact that we see ends up hurting a car really badly and has them several miles per hour off the pace. So it's just kind of that, I don't know, that illusion damage, if you will, I think right now for the 10 of Robert Kenny, as now Mike Tellier jumps up to the top side as well. I think the strategy right now for Joey Chapman, just make sure he gets his lap back the hard way. Still obviously in the camp of getting a caution, but seems like a strong enough car to be out there leading the draft.
That's the thing where everyone's trying to make their moves now, figure out where they need to be. And that's the big kind of question mark here is, where do you need to be and when are you planning on pitting? Because that's when you got to get to that bottom line, and it's going to be a fight depending on when you need to get down there.
Yeah, you talk about needing to pit. I would have assumed that Joey Chapman would have rather be running back behind somebody, because a good span of this green flag run, he's been running all by his lonesome with nobody to draft off of. If he's planning on coming to pit road with his teammates, he would probably want to be saving a little bit of fuel, which he could do in the draft. Being out in front of this lead group, he's continuing to use up more fuel, creating the draft for the 61.
That's the thing where it's kind of that teammate move.
Big push here. Mike Tellier going to push Matt Rod out in front. They're catching the 16 of Ty Smith there, and that's going to be an important pass for one Joey Chapman, because that was the pass for the lucky dog position. Oh, and now, okay. I think we might have had a little bit of payback there, as Robert Kenny just got sent around on the back straightaway. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but remember, the 10 spun the 16 a few laps ago, and when they caught the 16 this time, sideswipe to the 10 of Robert Kenny. No caution again, but a lot of tales that could maybe be spun about that one.
Well, what happened?
And this is race control, everybody. Anyway, no, I mean, again, we would probably have to go back, look at a replay to fully dissect what happened, but I'm just saying, 16 got spun by the 10 earlier, and just then, the 10 got spun by the 16. So, yeah, not sure if that was payback or not.
Yeah, that's a big curiosity, but that has huge playoff implications.
Really is. That's now going to put Robert Kenny way back behind this lead group. Kenny, who's been riding a huge wave of momentum, going to victory lane 3 times out of the last 4 events run, closing up what was a triple-digit points gap between himself and Bronson Stafford to now 30 points, and everybody's coming to pit lane, and everybody, it looks like, is going to make it. My goodness, feeding time at the zoo, everybody makes it on pit road. That's a 10 out of 10.
We'll say that is the sketchiest pit road entry I've had in a little while, but I mean, it works.
It works. Everybody made it down. Robert Kenny there going to be on pit road the lap before. So as everybody's pitting, we're just going to quickly jump back and take a look at the replay of the contact between the 16 and the 10 and see if we are correct, if maybe there was a little bit more extracurricular contact going on there. Kenny pounded the inside wall. Let's look at this here. That's the pink 16 on the top side. Kenny hard to that inside safer barrier. He did have to come down pit road, as we documented, before all the rest of the leaders hit pit lane to make a pit stop. get the damage repaired and take on the fast repair. He's going to lead everybody off of pit lane right now on the tail end of the lead lap. Ryan Potter going to try and jump to his outside to put him a lap down, but Bronson Stafford there, along with Mike Tellier, to keep the 10 car out in front, at least for the time being, and still on the lead lap. Also should mention that the 16 of Ty Smith, when he came down pit lane, he also took on his fast repairs. So halfway through this race, 2 drivers of fast repair in, but all 11 drivers still running. Right now, 9 of them on the lead lap. Kenny just barely on the tail end of the lead lap ahead of new race leader Bronson Stafford. Guys made it to lap 29, I believe, the completion of 29 before making that pit stop. So you guys should be good, I believe, to make it the rest of the way on fuel. And we're yet to see a caution here today. I'm saying all this stuff and not believing a word of it. I think you guys have a caution probably in your future that's going to shake everything up, because that's just the unpredictability of Superspeedway racing.
And that's just how it works, unfortunately. And you see how this is the perfect scenario when you come out of pit road, just having everyone in that straight line and trying to make up as much distance as possible to some of those guys who may have stayed out, or just trying to get away from some of those guys behind. Like, you're looking at David Duran, Justin Duran, and Dylan Body. They are all the way back, and that's where we can really kind of separate the battle between about us 5, rather than, hey, a whole group.
Going to be interesting to see here. Yeah, about 7 drivers up in this lead pack, and then those 3 you mentioned back in 6th through 8th, currently a little over 7 seconds behind the race leader, and about 7 seconds behind this lead pack. And yeah, they are rapidly losing ground. That last time by, most drivers in this lead pack ran anywhere in the high 49s to mid 50s. Back there, those 3 were running in the high 50s to low 51s. So they are rapidly losing ground, and we are rapidly building up the list of drivers who are hoping and praying for a caution. Smith and Chapman obviously wanting that caution to come out, as Smith has come back down pit lane. Chapman right now would be in the lucky dog position if a caution came out. Kenny would stay on the lead lap, as right now he's ahead of the race leaders, and both Durans and Dylan Body would catch up to the lead group. So at this point in time, in your shot right there, the 61, 97, 99, 81, and 57, they're the ones that are in this lead group on the lead lap battling for this victory.
Well, I'm happy to be in the top 5. This has been a season.
Yeah, you survived pit road. You're still up here in this lead pack, and boy, wouldn't that be interesting having you on comms if you're the one.
Oh, I'm gonna blow out audio if I
win. To win this race.
I hope you know I'm blowing out audio if I win.
The question of the day: when are you eventually going to run your dive bomber scheme? Because we've seen obviously Robert Kenny the last couple of weeks running it. Mike Tellier last couple of weeks we've seen him in his machine. We know you've got one, but we haven't seen it debuted yet this season.
Realistically, I've honestly just kept forgetting to put it on. I have it, and I have it ready, but I remember I just kind of forgot about it, and I ran with the body shop scheme because I needed something. I think I was doing promo photos, and I forgot to swap it back off. And so I might have to run that next race.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Or at least I need someone telling me to run that.
It's been working for Kenny, obviously, with the victories he's had in the last 5 weeks or so. But, I'm not going to say anything against the body shop scheme because right now it's got you up here in the position to possibly win this race. So
the chrome keeps blinding me.
But we'll wait. We'll wait 20 laps from now and see if the good mojo is still going on with that car.
Honestly, the Monster Energy scheme scares me the most. I swear I see that thing in 3 different flavors every race, and I'm scared of it.
4 flavors today, actually.
Wasn't there a pink one?
There was. There's a pink one, a black one, a blue one, and a green one.
See, this is what you miss. You should be a crew chief. We'd have talks like this all race. It'd be great.
Yes, we would, and nothing would get done. How's your car? Oh, I don't care. The chrome's blinding me.
I don't know. Roll cage is yellow. I'm pretty happy. My roll cage is painted. I got no problems.
You got that fancy helmet. Yeah, everything's good, right?
Yeah, nothing like looking like I'm a shark about ready to dive into Joey Chapman.
Car can't drive a lick, but man, does it look good.
Hey, watch this. But no, Betsy, this is kind of one of the low parts of the race where you kind of have to train your mind into it, where, like I said, you saw how we were racing early in the race. That first 10, 20 laps, we were side by side, 3 wide, really pushing the envelope on what we can do. And this is that part of the race where it gets all relaxing and it calms down, where it's, all right, we basically are riding in a single file line for the next 10, 15 laps so we get ready to settle this thing out. And then on the last 2-3 laps, we're going to branch back out 3 wide, and we're going to fight for it all the way to the end. You got to be ready to avoid any accidents, anything that pops up, and it's kind of a hard part of keeping your mind awake and alert, wanting to pay attention to what's in front of you, and then partially staring out in the La-La land, trying to figure out what that sign on the back straightaway is, or if that RV on the back straightaway is an international.
That's a great point, too. I think people kind of forget that, you know, the driver wants to keep mentally sharp, and as you pointed out, this is kind of the lull portion of the race where everybody's trying to set themselves up for the finish, obviously trying to make sure they keep their cars in one piece, and I would assume as well for you top 5 to keep the rest of the competition at bay, make sure you're the only guys in the conversation to take this checkered flag. You don't want a caution to bunch everybody back up and bring some new players into the conversation.
So I can probably speak on the terms of my team. I'm not in their team chat this week, which is very unfortunate, but I don't miss it because I'm probably going to hear a lot of screaming when I get back in there. But I can see what the plan is right now, and it's to hope for a caution. And it's really to hope that a caution will really come and save us. Because you're looking right now, you got Robert Kenny leading, you got Bronson Stafford behind him. Bronson doesn't want Bronson doesn't want Kenny to fall back. Because Kenny falls back, he immediately takes that lucky dog away from Joey Chapman and traps him a lap down. Joey Chapman's still fast. He still has that fast repair in his back pocket. He is dangerous if he's given the opportunity. But that's the main thing. You have to give him the opportunity. That's why I don't expect a current pass, at least at the moment, on Robert Kenny by either Bronson Stafford or Mike Tellier. And Joey Chapman's just trying to hang on, making sure he doesn't get any instant points. He doesn't want this lucky dog to be taken away from him.
Here's the thing, too, you know, obviously these laps ticking away, it's a possibility that we could end up running this green to the finish. Joey Chapman right now, yes, he's in the free pass position, but more importantly, he's kind of in the X-Factor position where he could either help Mike Tellier or Bronson Stafford to possibly
I hope he goes
win
with me.
this thing. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, but, you know, the fact that you're running behind him right now and he's behind those two. I mean, how much lobbying goes on between teammates there of, hey, push me?
Well, it's kind of down to almost personal interest versus personal gain, where, I mean, listen, you got to think of Chapman here. Chapman has no stake in this championship. It's really, Chapman's going to go with A, whoever he thinks has the best shot of winning, and then B, whoever he thinks is in the points battle. Where here's the thing, if it's versus myself or Bronson, he's probably going to go Bronson 9 out of 10 times. A, because he is in that championship fight, and that win could mean so much difference for him. And B, I think he likes Bronson better than I am. So, that's it. It's kind of went down to those personal alliances, but then you got to look at the guys behind where you got Ryan Potter and Connor Holden. Those guys, they're kind of in it for themselves, where you got to think like, hey, it's going to be a team victory here. And that's the main thing of, there's so many teams here, and it's who is willing to say, let's win one for the team versus I'm going to go win this.
But it's interesting, too, because it's like the script has been flipped in this race, because remember in the early portion, it was the Monster Brigade, all 4 cars on the bottom, and the Sky Motorsports cars were trying to do the 2-car tandem on the top side, not being able to make anything happen. Now you got 5 Sky Motorsports cars all lined up on that double yellow line. And
but you saw Ryan Potter, he was pulling that same move I did earlier. He fell way off the pack. He caught up about 191, 192. Now he's going to try and shoot up that outside, and he's going to try and stay right on their doors trying to get that side draft. But you see Mike Tellier and Joey Chapman, they come off the track a little bit trying to squeeze him out.
And I'm not necessarily certain if that was the right time to make the move for Ryan Potter, because Connor Holden wasn't really to his back bumper. There was still about more than half a car length between those two, so the momentum wasn't exactly there for
But look
Potter.
at the run they're getting. That's the thing.
Yeah,
you can get that run on the outside,
right
but you have to play aggressive, and you really have to fight aggressive, where you got to be right down on their door. Here's the part. They're going to lose a lot of time here because Potter didn't get right down on their door, and Mike Tellier is trying to shove them up the track.
Yep, you saw the 97 come up off the yellow line, trying to stall out that run on the top side. You know, you brought up the fact that Joey Chapman doesn't have much at stake. That can kind of be the same for the 99, the 81. Granted, Potter went to victory lane earlier on this season, but both of them right now not really in the conversation for the championship, so they can kind of go ham and be ultra aggressive here.
And that's the main thing where, here's the thing, even if you're not in the championship battle, everyone wants to win a race. You can't say you don't want to win a race. And again, winning a race in general, of how difficult I'd say the competition had been this season, especially early in the season, and as it gets later into the championship and everyone kind of has their own alliances and everyone kind of has their own ideas. I mean, seeing kind of really different guys. I mean, you see Ryan Potter and Connor Holden up here, they're trying to make something work. And they're trying to test the waters. I really don't think they were trying to go to the lead. I think they were just trying to see what they could make happen. And realistically, they finally learned that, hey, if they back off about half a second off the field and they really start getting that run, they can fly up the outside of the pack. And that's something that you put away for later in the race.
Yeah, see how far they could get with the momentum they had. You know, we're about to have a possibly important pass take place in a few moments, and it might be for a driver you wouldn't expect. That would be Robert Kenny. Right now, he is in the 9th position, still on the lead lap. You guys are only about, looks like by my telemetry, 8 seconds behind Dylan Body. He's just now going into turn 3, and that would be a pass for 8th position. So obviously, this is not the day that Robert Kenny wanted to have, but every position is more points. So that could be a very important position picked up by the 10 car here with less than 15 to go.
That's the thing where you got to think, even if Robert Kenny stays that lap down the entire, or almost on the edge of a lap down the entire race, any positions he pick up, that's just points. That's points right in your pocket. And again, it's not been an ideal day, but this is how you claw back and you recover from those bad days.
We talk about the unorthodox point system. If we were using the current NASCAR system, that'd be just 1 point for that position, but that's 5 points right there if he is able to pass Dylan Body for 8th place, and of course still on the lead lap as well.
I mean, how do you think Robert Kenny feels? I mean, he is on the verge of going a lap down, and he's got basically everyone he's battling right behind him. He's got Bronson Stafford, who is currently the points leader, pushing him, trying to make sure he stays on that lead lap. And then you've got Mike Tellier behind him. And again, he is right in that same boat. He needs a good finish. He needs really a win to keep himself in this and keep himself competitive.
Mike Tellier, I mean, who will forget Mike Tellier back in season 1, the penultimate race of the season, went to victory lane and had himself as the long shot driver. I think it was 97 points, ironically enough, with him in the 97 car, that he was back of that championship, but still was mathematically eligible. So he's been kind of known for those late season dramatics, and he might be able to do it again here this season.
I mean, just looking at how many points Robert Kenny pulled off the last race, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was 102. That really shows you the extent that the points can really swing, where Mike is currently 99 points back. If a beautiful kind of perfect day scenario happened for him, he could effectively come from 3rd in the points, 99 points back, all the way to be the champion.
Now, you mentioned that if you aren't going to try and battle to take the checkered flag, there's no point of suiting up and getting in the driver's seat of these race cars, but you know, Bronson Stafford last couple of weeks has said, I feel like my teammates are colluding against me to make sure that they close up my points gap. Right now, he's been the one that's been keeping Robert Kenny out here on the tail end of the lead lap. But if you're Robert Kenny in the closing stages, is it in your best interest to try and help the 97 make a move, pick up that win, so you don't lose even more points to the 61?
That's the thing, we're in this is kind of Robert Kenny's nightmare scenario where, hey, he's far back. He's got the points leader who he's trying to run down leading. He is leading a ton of laps. I say he is going to probably get most laps led unless something happens. You see Ryan Potter and Connor Holden trying to make that move to the outside. I don't think they are connected enough. And you see Mike Tellier and Joey Chapman coming up to block. I don't know how that's going to work later in the race. You get a little bit of a pass right now, but you don't get very much of a pass later. But Mike Tellier is still in that high lane. He may be trying to move.
I'm surprised that they're making this move now, because I think if they'd waited a little bit longer, they would have had the 6 of Dylan Body, who appears to have latched on to this draft, so then they would have had 3 monster cars. Mike Tellier peeking up there. He's been looking the last couple of laps. He did it just last time out of turn number 2. He's up to the top side. He's got a push from Ryan Potter. We're about to have ourselves a battle for the race lead.
So here's what you really need to pay attention to. Seeing how Mike Tellier's on that top side, right now that team is controlling both lanes. They're controlling the speed and the flow of this race. Right now, those two drivers are figuring out how fast we want it to go. And as you see Ryan Potter go right to the inside, middle of the track, that's where it gets dangerous. You can't do that move for long without someone getting wise. Dylan Body jumps in behind. There's a 3-car versus 3-car train.
There is indeed. It's going to be Bronson Stafford versus Ryan Potter to lead this lap, I do believe, out of turn 4. Remember, the 10 is on the tail end lead lap. The 61 is the race leader, so Potter only has to get alongside of him, which he will do. Connor Holden right there with him, along with Dylan Body. Lap is going to be led barely by Bronson Stafford, but the momentum's still on that top side.
Absolutely. You see that whole top lane just kind of hanging tough there. And that's the main thing where, again, you'll lose a little bit in the corners, but you should make it up in the straights. And that's the big thing where Connor Holden keeps getting on the back bumper of Ryan Potter, keeping him in that whole kind of race down the back straightaway. And they're pulling even when they get down into turn 3, and then they lose it again. And that's just the kind of ebb and flow of these corners.
You know, you mentioned about that move on the back straightaway that shuffled Mike Tellier to the back that Ryan Potter put on him. But, you know, when you think about it, while it was a gutsy move that may not actually work later on in this race, what it did do is it took away a defender up there at the front to play defense for Bronson Stafford. So, obviously, Mike Tellier thought that those monster cars were going to go with him. They leave him out to dry. That's got to be something in the back of the mind now, maybe for Robert Kenny, of trying to defend that outside line there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you see that 3-car by 3-car battle.
So far this season, we have had 2 drivers go to victory lane multiple times, 3 wins for Robert Kenny and 2 wins for Bronson Stafford. If Ryan Potter, who right now is going to clear across the nose of Robert Kenny, if he's able to close out the deal, he'd be the 3rd multi-time winner on the season, winning earlier on this year, mid-March at Daytona.
And here's the thing. Comes with the fun time where it gets near the end of the race, where you start questioning, are teammates helping me right now? Or are they trying to win it? I mean, you look at Joey Chapman. Joey Chapman's trying to make sure he's in that fight for Lucky Dog. Right now, it's a battle between him and Kenny. And you got to say, like, outside looking in, you got to say this is a risky battle. But from the driver's perspective, hey, this is my shot where if a caution comes out, this is how I get back in this race.
It's incredible how that just completely changed as far as the Lucky Dog battle, because, like you said, it looked like the situation was Kenny was going to be on the tail of the lead lap, and Joey Chapman would get the Lucky Dog, she would get a yellow. As soon as the 99 got to the race lead, the Lucky Dog position was 3 wide.
And that's the thing where you're looking back here in the pack, and Dylan Body's also in that conversation. Now, I think Dylan Body's best bet is don't get involved in this, I guess, for lack of a better word, this pissing match up here in the front. Stay back behind when this wreck happens, and honestly, if it keeps going like it is, and it will happen, this is his move to say, okay, I'm not going to get any instant points out of this. I'm going to get a free Lucky Dog, and I'm going to get back on the lead lap, and we're going to battle for this thing.
3 wide again. This time it's going to be Connor Holden in the middle as battle between teammates for the Lucky Dog position. Chapman edges ahead just a little out of turn 2. Now the middle line kicks in for Robert Kenny. Dylan Body trying to get some help from his teammate Connor Holden on the top side. Now he'll swap down to the middle. Battle for the 2nd spot between Holden and Tellier. Give it to Tellier. Now he behind the draft of the 10 of Robert Kenny. He'll try to get alongside Potter for the top spot.
And just seeing that, see how the power shifted from the bottom lane to the top. That is what we're going to see as the race goes on. That bottom line obviously is the preferred dominant line, but the top lane obviously is working with help.
Now Mike Tellier going to be the new race leader, locked onto the 10 of Robert Kenny. They'll shift down to the double yellow line, which is another thing. You talk about the lull that drivers were in, trying to stay mentally focused. Another thing you got to stay mentally focused about if you're the race leader is you've got about 3 lanes to block on the top side, but oh yeah, you got about 1.5 lanes, 2 lanes to block down the bottom as well, because that yellow line is not out of bounds.
This is where we start playing the chess match here of, all right, pick your friends, pick who you're going to go with, because right now, a lot of these guys still have a fast pair left. See Dylan Body. And this is where Heimer, I think teammates are really going to kind of, it's going to either help or hurt, where Dylan Body, right now, he is obviously, trying to make sure he gets his lap back. But not only that, again, he is helping his teammates because he is stacking up that inside line, giving that outside line a shot.
And here comes that outside line. Holden and Potter, big run on the top. They're going to clear Robert Kenny going into turn 1. They haven't cleared Dylan Body, though, so they can't jump down to the inside line. They have to run the middle. Now Holden clears Dylan Body, so he will be clear for the race lead. Less than 5 to go, and I'll tell you what, we're seeing a lot more moving and shaking here and now than we did in the early portion of this race, which we fully expected.
Ooh.
So I think you might be right that we might be moments away from our first caution of the day. That was nearly it on the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's that thing where, again, as we've been going later in this race, we have not pushed as aggressively as we have in other race sessions because we know it has been really sketch on pushing. So right now it's going to be a lot more, it's going to be a lot more touch and go because a lot of these guys are really heavily pushing for the first time today.
We've seen you do this in the past. I mean, we see you, Bronson Stafford, Mike Tellier back here. If and when trouble breaks out, how soon are you formulating a strategy of trying to figure out where the best exit is to be able to avoid the wreck? Oh man, And tight off of turn 2 there. Connor Holden trying to hold off Joey Chapman. Oh, Dylan Body. 6 car is hard in the inside wall. I'm not sure what just happened there. Didn't look like there was contact. But all of a sudden, Dylan Body is out of the picture for the free pass position. Tellier now going to be flanked by 2 machines that are battling for the free pass position. Chapman in the 60 and Kenny in the 10.
Yeah, I will say that was a bit bizarre. Oh, it looks like Dylan Body was a little bit misinformed. I guess he thought he was being parked, but no. He actually, I think, was just asked to go to the back of the pack due to blinking.
Body is now on pit lane, and looks like he will probably finish in 10th position. Ty Smith has been on pit road for the last 25 laps or so. He'll be finishing 11th. Right now, Robert Kenny's the only car 1 lap down in 9th place. 8 drivers on the lead lap, and only 5 of them up in this lead group still in the conversation for the race win. And right now, it kind of seems like Mike Tellier's got himself a little bit of a barrier. He's got Chapman in front of him, Kenny behind him, so we'll see if this suit of armor, if you will, is going to last, as it should be the white flag this time by. This is incredible. We're going to be able to run this entire 55-lap race.
Oh,
it
jinx
looks
it.
like completely under the green. Okay, there's a couple hundred feet still left to go. There you go. White flag's in the air. We're official now. Mike Tellier going to have to hold off a big charge because watch the green and blue monster cars. They've got enough time to be able to mount a charge here on the back straightaway.
This is where it comes crunch time.
And Matt's going to make the move to the top with Bronson Stafford. Let's see what kind of a run these 2-car tandems can get here into 3 and 4. Remember again, Talladega start-finish line is way down towards the entrance of turn 1. It is not in the middle of the tri-oval. That extra few hundred feet could be very important here.
And just seeing Potter really aggressively attack that inside, this is going to be the race.
Go to the apron if you want to, because it's not out of bounds. Look at Stafford, 3 wide, 4 wide contact. Chapman around, Potter around, and Mike Tellier's going to hang on. He's going to pick up 2nd win on the season here today at Talladega. And Matt, you died.
I'm in there.
Throw in reverse.
Where'd I finish?
There you go.
Oh, I
You got
finished in
5th.
5th. That's
got 5th.
unfortunate.
Might have been faster if you got out of the car and ran across the start-finish line, to be honest. But anyway,
I don't think it can make it back to the end.
Mike Tellier is going to join Robert Kenny and Bronson Stafford as a multi-time winner this season. And now it looks like you talked about that points gap there closing up. Oh, well, that car did look good a few moments ago.
It's fine. We'll make it back.
But you were talking about that points gap that Bronson Stafford had between himself and Robert Kenny heading into last week and after we concluded that race at Iverson Superspeedway. With Mike Tellier winning here today, it's going to probably be even closer heading into next week. I mean, the points are getting closer as the season is getting shorter. Mike Tellier going to burn it down here at Talladega Superspeedway. He's now 2 for 3 this season at winning at Talladega. His last victory at this racetrack back in early March. It's a special May Day for the driver out of Sky Motorsports here today in Alabama. As we will in a moment show you your finishing results from today's race. Ryan Potter brings it home in 2nd, and Bronson Stafford will finish in 3rd. As we stated, more than likely he's going to have the bonus points for most laps led. He's going to finish up inside of the podium, so the question will be just how many points is Mike Tellier going to gain on the 61 based off of their respective finishing results. Robert Kenny, I don't know if he would lose 2nd in points to Mike Tellier here today, finishing in the 8th position, but certainly going to have the points a lot more congested leaving today than it was heading into today's event.
Yeah, and that's going to make it a lot more difficult. And again, this is kind of that huge shakeup that we were wondering about. We will wait and see.
Here's the look at the finishing results there. You had 5 drivers up in that lead pack in the closing stages as Connor Holden and Matthew Rodriguez going to complete that top 5. The Durans did not get the caution they were looking for. They do finish on the lead lap, though, in 6th and 7th, so it is now looking less and less likely that they're going to be able to make a late season charge for the championship. They really needed to finish at least in the podium here today. As we said, more than likely needed a victory. Kenny will finish the first car 1 lap down in 8th, Joey Chapman in 9th. Both of those drivers involved in incidents that a caution did not come out to save them. Dylan Body, he's going to finish multiple laps down in 10th, and then finishing out the rest of the field is going to be the 16 of Ty Smith. But man, I mean, certainly a unique race in the fact that we didn't have to wait until after the race to get the driver's perspective of what's going on there. So that was a lot of fun to be able to kind of be inside the helmet as it was all going down here today. And obviously too, mention about those couple of incidents that took place, the fact that the caution didn't come out, really interesting in that regard. Really had to have drivers play a lot more strategy in the moves when they made the moves than they probably would have if we had had a couple of cautions to break this thing up. So, does this maybe, do you think, set a trend for the mentality of drivers heading into the final few races of the season, especially those drivers that are battling for the championship?
That's kind of the thing where I'm currently waiting to see how points shake up, but I think these next 2 or 3 weeks, that's going to be a lot more. What's the word? A lot more on eggshells, where I think a lot of people are going to be points racing.
Well, speaking of points racing, let's talk to a couple of guys that might be doing just that, that finished up inside of the podium. Let's kick things off with the guy who came in the points leader today, third place finisher Bronson Stafford.
I was never. Oh.
Hey Bronson, it's Matt Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us.
Hi.
Obviously, we heard you talking with your teammates there, I guess, just a moment ago. But man, I mean, a great run for you here today. You bring it home third place, but man, a very interesting race here at Talladega. A couple of incidents that didn't bring out a caution. Green flag pit stop, green flag from start to finish, and we talked about it as well. Those hotter track conditions today kind of playing a factor. So, what was it like from the cockpit of that Dollar General Toyota?
Yeah, the car was just loose. It was just really really loose. It was hard to try and really push people in the corners, and with the temperature, it just overheated so quick. You could get a really big run, but the engine would get hot just down one straightaway. It made it really hard to do anything unless you had like the huge run. Honestly, kind of sucks we went caution free because we had a lot of guys like Kenny and Chapman and Body and stuff were right there. They just they're at the lap down without getting the yellow, and they just weren't able to do anything because the cars were fine. So it's just unfortunate there. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those days. Just there wasn't a lot going on, and we just took what we could get.
Now, Bronson, I have to say, on that last lap, what were you thinking as I think you were running 5th, 6th, and trying to see how you're going to get up to the front of the field?
I know what he was thinking. He didn't stick with you. He didn't want to run.
Yeah, he was saying, "Why in the world am I behind this brick?"
Trying to push you, Matt Rod.
Oh, I didn't realize you were trying to push me.
We went into turn one. I kind of got close to you. We were kind of going. You went to the top, and then middle of the way down the back, it felt like you slowed down. And I was like, "Well, we can't slow down." Well, I had to go by you, and I was like, "What is he like? You can't slow down." So I don't know. It almost worked out. I fought to the apron, and unfortunately, like I think the 81 just tagged Joey at the end after he was already sideways, and it spun him down quicker into the line. I could have maybe got second, but Mike was a little too far up and just not enough of a run. Just no one did any moves until it was too late, and it looked like a real NASCAR race. Everyone just waited till off of turn 4, and nothing could get done. So it is what it is.
Now, Bronson, obviously last week we were talking to you about the run that Robert Kenny's been on, starting to close your points gap up. Now you got another driver to potentially worry about with Mike Tellier winning here today. So, I mean, it's interesting that, midway portion of the season, you had that huge points gap, but we get closer to the end of the year, and it's starting to look more and more like a 3-car fight. The third place finish tonight certainly got to help, but are you anxious to get back to victory lane, get those max points, or are you willing, at least right now, to just take these consistent finishes and hope that it keeps them at bay?
I mean, it'd be nice to win. I think another win, and I think would be pretty solid. But a top 3 is not too bad. Honestly, the bigger thing is before Kenny won last week, I believe Mike, myself, and Kenny were all tied for leading victories, and now Kenny won last week, Mike won this week, so now they're tied, and now I'm one behind. So we gotta change that. We gotta tie it back up and go from there. But no, I don't know. Tonight's not bad. Top three, we led the most laps, had the fastest lap. We didn't gain the most spots. I believe the 81 did that by one position on us because he started two behind me and finished only one behind me. So that kind of sucks. We were going for all of them, but we got two of them. So we'll take it.
Definitely got some good points here tonight. Well, Bronson, congratulations on your third place run this evening. And you know the drill. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Oh yeah, definitely you up here in the booth, Seth. It was interesting. You had Matt with you, well, racing. I'll have to see how that one went. This seems like an interesting call of everything, but we'll see. Obviously, Matt and Mike putting this on, it's a lot of fun. Excited to see maybe we do something next season with different cars. Cough, cough. Hopefully. Um, but just we're having fun. It's fun out here. So just everything that makes it happen, all you guys with race control and broadcast and making sure sessions are good to go. And it was good. We tried something different tonight with weather. I think we're on the right track. It was just maybe a little too hot for the engines. We couldn't really push too long, which kind of made it kind of how everyone had to wait till off of turn four, which kind of sucked. But I think we're on the right track of trying to figure out how to make lines a bit more even, or like being able to make moves and whatnot. So we'll get there.
Well, Bronson Stafford brings it home third place here today at Talladega. Once again, congratulations on the great run. We know that it's kind of up in the air where we're going next week, but wherever we are, good luck there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, let's see if we can now get our second place finisher here this evening, Ryan Potter. Hey, Ryan, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hello.
Well, we'll give it another go. Ryan, you got us up here in the FRN booth? Well, man, I mean, I tell you what, here today, we knew that the track was going to be slick and that the moves were going to be slicker. You were making some really aggressive moves there in the closing stage. Almost worked for you. Also, I mean, obviously, we've seen that you've been able to go to victory lane in the past here this season. Did you think that you were going to be able to get that second one today? Because that 99 looked pretty sporty.
Early on, I felt like we had pretty good speed. The whole group was pretty fast. I thought we had a good shot, but as the race went on, we got through that green flag run, all that good stuff. Just the teammate numbers dwindled to the point where it was just me and Connor. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle for sure, but we gave it our all, and we ended up with a second place finish. So I guess it's not too bad.
You guys gave it really a rally cry, but I mean, I was sitting back there and I was watching you guys, and I was like, they were really making that outside line work, and they were making it work undoubtedly better than I was. But you guys were kind of right up on the door. Did you really think that was helping? Because I tried to tell Seth, I don't know if that's working. I don't know if you know if it works better.
I don't know. I mean, we were just trying to give everything we had. It was just kind of a situation where we were just trying to do everything we could because, like I said, we knew we didn't have the numbers, so it was just kind of, you know, go up there and kind of just go and see what happens.
You know, we were talking just moments ago with Bronson Stafford. He brought up a point that with the hotter track conditions here today, cars not able to stay as locked up as long as they have been in the past. We also observed that drivers are having a little bit of difficulty with the slipping and sliding of lining the bumpers up. So, did you kind of have to adjust your strategy here today as opposed to the past Talladega races in terms of keeping that momentum and making those moves?
I mean, the cars definitely they were slipping and sliding a lot more, and you could tell. And it was, I personally, me trying to push and stuff like that. I was trying to be a little mindful of it, not because it was so easy to just kind of get off key with somebody, and then if you get off key just right, it's easy to just hook somebody around in these cars. So, really, I mean, the strategy itself didn't change necessarily, except for just trying to be a little more careful with the pushes and stuff like that. But really, I mean, everything still, especially in the end, came down to just getting the right run and making the right moves. And yeah,
Well, Ryan, a great performance for you here today. So close to picking up that second win on the season, but a yeoman's effort there. You bring it home second place, and now we're going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shoutouts.
yeah. Just first and foremost, I just want to congratulate Mike on his win. I mean, I think we probably would have had a good finish there at the end. I don't know. I don't think I'd have had a chance at him, but the wreck at the end happened. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it was it was close. Yeah, I just want to shout out to Dylan, Connor, Ty. I know Ty had his little incident in the race, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, just want to thank them. Thank them for working with me today. Thank Dylan for the car because the car does look good every week. Thank you guys for the broadcast, and quickly do want to apologize to Joey because I wrecked him. It was like 6 laps into the race. I didn't mean to. I just, it was one of those situations where I was tucked up under him real tight, and then a checkup happened right in front of me, and I didn't really have a chance to react to it. But yeah, it was unfortunate.
Well, Ryan Potter brings it home with a strong performance of second place here today at Talladega. Obviously, congratulations on the great run and best of luck next week.
All right, thank you guys.
Let's go down to Victory Lane and talk with tonight's winner, Mike Tellier. Hey, Mike, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do.
Well, man, a great performance for you here today. Important timing, as we mentioned, the fact you came into this race in that hunt still mathematically for the championship, 89 points back. Second trip to victory lane this season, fifth time overall, and now back-to-back seasons as a multi-time winner. I mean, I think I mentioned this to you last week. You seem to have the flair for the dramatic in the closing portions of the season. It looks like you're starting to kind of write that story all over again this year.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, let's hope I can finish the book instead of, get to the last few chapters and just quit on it.
So let me ask you this, Mike. I mean, obviously, right now you're facing an uphill battle. You were, let me double check my handy dandy statistics here. You were 99 points back when we started this race. You pretty much took the race at the last possible minute and you came away now 89 points back. So obviously you gained only 10 points off of that. You did gain a lot on Robert Kenny, but what can you do going forward to kind of maybe hope to continue closing the gap?
Pay someone off to take Bronson out? I don't know. Dude, we have such a good group of guys at Sky Motorsports. We've been working together all season long. It's honestly going to take some bad luck on Bronson's part to close the gap. I mean, all of us want to see everyone finish well every week. So to close basically 100 points in the last 2 weeks, it's a big mountain. Yeah, it's going to take something bad to happen to Bronson. I mean, I don't want anything bad to happen to Bronson, especially if it happens in the last week and somehow me or Kenny miraculously come away with this thing. But I mean, racing's racing, and whatever happens, happens. Hopefully, I'm, coming out on the good end of the stick.
It was really cool having Matt up here in the booth, but also in the race car because, normally we try and go inside the head of the driver, figure out what they're thinking, but we were able to kind of go inside the mind of the driver for the entirety of this race. And one thing that Matt touched on was the mental aspect of super speedway racing, keeping yourself focused on what's going on. I want to go back to a move that you made near the end of this race to try and take the race lead. Next thing you know, you're getting hung up on the top side 3 wide and falling to the back. I mean, how difficult is it as a driver to still keep yourself mentally focused when something like that happens and say, I've still got a strong enough car, I can get back up here to the front?
Uh, Honestly, especially with the package that we have, Matt's put a lot of time in and tweaked the setup so that way we can have these fun races and get these big runs. But honestly, if you get shuffled back and there's only 10, 15 guys out there, it's not as difficult to move forward, especially because of these runs. And then you got to throw in your teammate aspect. If you get anyone helping you, I mean, it's so easy to move forward. Staying there is a lot harder than it is getting there.
Well, Mike, obviously, congratulations on your second win on the season. Going to be interesting to see what happens down this home stretch if you can get up there in that championship battle by the time we get to the season finale. But now we're going to turn the mic over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah. First off, I'd like to thank Matt Muir and Matt Muir Designs for jumping in on the car this season. I know me and Kenny went to the Stuka Squadron there for a couple weeks to try and close this point gap, but he's been on the car all season, and thank him a bunch. Thompson Caterpillar, you guys here, FRN, putting on the broadcast every week and also being a sponsor on 95% of my race cars. Matt Rod for putting on the series, UpperEdge Racing, Baadteshop paint for sponsoring the Superspeedway series. Sky Motorsports, like I said, dude, best teammates to have in the sim at this moment.
Well, Mike Tellier, second trip to victory lane this season, second time at Talladega here this season as well in the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Congratulations once again, Mike, and best of luck next week.
Yeah, thanks.
So as Mike Tellier will continue to celebrate his victory here tonight, that brings our coverage here this evening at Talladega to a close. Thank you all for tuning into our coverage here tonight of the 9th race of the 3rd season of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Super Speedway Series. Point standings are in. The gap right now between Bronson Stafford to Robert Kenny, 75 points. As you heard Matt allude to, Mike Tellier sits third, 89 points out. Everybody else is over 200 points back. So it is at this point in time a 3-horse race for the championship. Kenny, Stafford, and Tellier. A lot can change between now and the end of the season. We're not certain where we're going to be heading to next week. We've got Talladega as the penultimate race, and then iRacing Superspeedway, the place that started all here earlier on this season. It's where the championship's going to be decided. So a lot can happen in these final 3 races of the year, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see what the storylines will be heading down to that final checkered flag. I want to thank Matthew Rodriguez for joining me here tonight, not only in the booth, but giving us that insight inside the race car here this evening as well. Appreciate him doing that. And once again, thank you to all of you for tuning in here tonight. Hope to see you guys next week. There's some speculation that we may not be going to Daytona, which is the track that is on the schedule right now. Obviously, you'll find out at the same time we do where the venue is going to be taking place, but it will be, I believe, next week with the green flag scheduled to fly at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, for Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope